Hi everyone, it's Veronica from Blue Star Crochet, and in this video I would like to talk to you about how to care for your finished crochet garment. Crocheting a garment takes such a long time and a lot of effort, so once you finish your beautiful handmade crochet sweater or cardigan, you need to know how to care for it properly to make it last as long as possible. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to follow the care instructions you can find on the yarn labels or on your clothing. Then we're gonna look how you can wash your garment, how to dry it properly, how to store your crochet sweaters or cardigans, and we're gonna talk about spot cleaning as well. So before you come to cleaning or washing your crochet garment in any way, we need to look at what the crochet garment has been made of. This is the information that we're gonna find on your yarn care label right here. So on your yarn care labels, you will very often find the fiber the yarn has been made from, and depending on the fiber, then that will give you more of an idea or on how you can care for your finished crochet garment. So very often on your yarn ball band you'll also find the basic care label symbols. So we're gonna now look at the very basic ones that are very often found on yarn labels and what do they actually mean. So let's now talk about different fibers that yarn is made from and how they can hold up in wash or when you submerge them into the water. Some fibers are not very friendly with water, so that you are advised very strongly against getting these fibers wet. And amongst these fibers you've got yarn like a full fur yarn, so it's very likely that you will ruin your project if you submerged full fur yarn into the water. Second one are very delicate fibers that don't like water at all, so amongst these you've got fibers like mohair, cashmere and silk. These three fibers are very delicate, they don't like being submerged in water, and you are very likely to ruin your crochet sweater or garment if you use one of these fibers. These fibers are very often easier to spot clean or get out any odors by other methods than washing, which we will talk about a little bit later on in this video. On the other hand, there are also fibers that yarn has been made from that are very good when it comes to washing. They are very hard wearing, they can withstand frequent washing, even in a washing machine. You don't have to hand wash these fibers, you can just put them in a washing machine and they will be as good as new. So amongst these hard wearing fibers you've got stuff like cotton. Cotton is very good when it comes to washing, absorbing moisture and drying. Second fiber is acrylic, which is a man-made fiber. Because it's synthetic, it's very hard wearing. You can wash it, you can wet it, and you can dry it pretty easily. Amongst the other synthetic fibers that are very easy to care for and very easy to wash, even in a washing machine, are polyester. Polyester is really easy to care for. It's also wrinkle resistant. And the other fiber is nylon. Nylon is very often added to wool yarns to make them a bit more durable. Think of your standard fingering weight sock yarns. They are very often components of wool and nylon to make them hard wearing, because socks get a lot of wear and a lot of friction when you wear socks in shoes. So nylon is the other synthetic fiber that is very easy to care for, and it's also very lightweight and durable. It's easy to wash, you can submerge it in water and you can also wash it in a washing machine. So when it comes to actually washing your finished sweaters or cardigans or any type of garments that you made, the one rule you need to remember that applies is less is more. What does that mean? It means that when it comes to caring for your crochet garment, when you need to clean it, because we do sometimes, less is more, which means that you need to kind of assess the situation with your sweater or cardigan, and you need to decide on one of the three methods. If your sweater or cardigan has got a stain or a spot where it got a bit dirty, or you need to wash it, you can actually only start with spot cleaning. That means that you will only wash and treat the affected area of your crochet garment without the need to actually washing the whole garment. Think about spilling a little bit of coffee down your front when you're doing crochet and coffee session. So spot cleaning is perfect for this, because you don't actually have to submerge the rest of the sweater in water. You can use spot cleaning. If you need to wash the entire sweater, hand washing is your next best option. Even if your yarn care label says that the yarn will withstand a machine wash, I will always advise you to go for hand washing, because it's much more gentle, it's easier, it doesn't cause as much friction on your sweater, so it will make your sweater last much longer. And the last resort for caring for your sweater when you need to clean it is machine wash. When you do have to machine wash, if you can hand wash your items and you need to put them in the washing machine, I will always advise you to select a cycle. If your washing machine has got a wool wash cycle, because modern machines nowadays do, always opt for that cycle. If you haven't got specific cycle on your washing machine for like a hand wash or wool wash, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called very often on the machines. If your machine hasn't got this cycle, then always opt for a cycle, the shortest possible, kind of in the coolest water possible, and the one that, and when it comes to spinning the water out of your crochet garment, try to keep the spins to as low as possible, even if you need to do it slightly longer. But you know, the more it spins, the more friction the machine will cause on your fabric, and the more friction to your fabric, it means your stitches might become distorted, and the fabric just will lose its shape and lose its durability. So before you need to fully wash your crochet garment by submerging it into the water, we mentioned spot cleaning. So what is spot cleaning? It's when your garment actually has got a little stain or a little spot of dirt that you need to clean without the need to wash the rest of your garment. So spot cleaning is done just on the affected area. You can use a very mild detergent on a damp cloth and just lightly dab the affected area to try and get the spot out. Second option is if your garment hasn't actually got any stains or any spots of area that you need to clean. Say your garment has got a little odor, say you went to a restaurant and it got that food smell that you need to get it out. Without the need to actually washing to remove any stains from your garment, you have got other options on how to get rid of odor from your garment. So firstly, you can freeze it. So if you pop your handmade crochet sweater into a freezer bag and put it in a freezer for a few hours, 5 to 6 hours, or you can leave it overnight, then take it out of the bag and just let it dry. Freezing will kill any odor causing bacteria. Okay, so odor on your clothes is very often caused by bacteria, and freezing your garment will actually kill the bacteria, which will then get rid of the smell. Second option you have is actually steaming your garment. You can do this with handheld steamers, you can do this with your iron if you've got the function on your iron, so you can just hang your garment on a hanger for the time being and lightly steam your garment. Make sure you don't get too close with your hot steaming iron, because if your garment has been made from acrylic yarn, it's very likely that it might melt if you get too close. Other fibers should withstand the heat better, but just be careful, don't get too close to your garment. But you can steam the garment to kind of remove any wrinkles from your garment if it has been folded for quite a long time, and the steam will actually slightly wet the garment, and then when it dries it should be much fresher. And the third option to get rid of odor from your garment is actually air it out. Okay, so you can hang it outside. If it's a nice dry day, you can put it on a hanger and hang it outside and let the wind and let the fresh air outside do its magic, because very often airing it out will just make it smell much fresher and much better. Of course, there is situations when your crochet sweater or cardigan, you've got no other choice but to fully wash it because it needs it. So let's have a look at the video on how to properly hand wash your crochet sweater or your crochet cardigan. So here I am going to show you how to quickly hand wash your crochet sweater. So what I like to start with is actually giving the sink just a quick clean, so we know that there is no harsh residue of any chemicals you might have used for washing dishes or anything. Alternatively, you can also use a clean bowl. You don't have to do it in a sink if you wanted to do it in a clean large washing up bowl or anything like that. So you can, if you've got anything like that, you can also use that. So this is the start, to start with the clean sink with no sort of residue of any other chemicals, because you don't want the chemicals getting onto your handmade sweater. So I'm gonna fill the sink with lukewarm water. We don't want it hot, we don't want it cold, so we want it nice and lukewarm. I'm gonna fill up the sink. You don't actually need a lot of water either, you just need enough water to basically submerge your sweater into the water. Right, I think that will be plenty. So what I'm going to use to wash my sweater is soak. So this is Modern Care for Your Laundry, and the great thing about soak is that you don't actually have to rinse it. So you can just put it in the water, let your sweater soak in it, and then just basically take it out, squeeze the excess water out of your sweater and dry it. So I'll show you how to do that later, but I'm gonna put 1 sachet of soak. This is a 5 milliliter sachet. It says that 1 teaspoon dilutes in 1 gallon of water. So this is about a gallon. I mean, you can really get technical and measure your water, but I don't think that's necessary. You can just eyeball it. It's 1 gallon of lukewarm water, or about 4.5 liters of water. So I'm gonna open my sachet and I'm just gonna squeeze that into the water. Here we go. So just squeeze it into the water. And what I also like to do is just take the top of the sachet off and just open it fully and rinse it out in the water to get all the product out, because we don't want to waste any, do we? So here we go. And I'm just gonna make sure that it's well mixed in the water. And here comes the star of the show. This is my Horbury sweater. And off you go in for a bath. And this is what I meant. You don't actually need a lot of water, because you can just, you just need enough water to submerge it, so it gets wet and submerged. Okay, so gently, just gently push it in the water. You don't kind of need to do anything drastic with it. Just make sure it's all submerged in the water and let it soak. If you had any kind of visible stained spots, you could just kind of pick out the spot, get a very gentle cloth and just give it a quick rub to get it out. But I don't have any, so I'm just gonna submerge it in the water like this. Oh, the smell is divine. It's gonna smell really nice. And this is basically it. So now we're gonna leave it for about 10 to 15 minutes. We're gonna let it soak, let the product do its business, and yeah, I will meet you back when it's time to get this baby out of the bath. Okay, so the sweater has been soaking for 10 minutes and now it's time to get it out of the water. Before I do that, I just want to remind you that I have used soak, which is a kind of detergent or product that doesn't need to be rinsed. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take the sweater out of this water that has got the soak in, and I'm just gonna get the excess water out and then proceed to dry the sweater. But if you have used any other product, please read the instructions on your product to find out whether it needs to be rinsed out or whether you can just soak it in a product and leave it, kind of dry it without having to rinse the product out. Okay, so if you needed to rinse your product out, you would basically just get rid of this water that we've got in a sink with the product in, and then refill the sink with clean water and submerge the sweater in the clean water to kind of rinse the product out. Okay, like I said, I don't need to do that because I have used soak, which is if you read on the back, it actually says that it's okay not to rinse it out. It's perfectly fine. If you have very sensitive skin, and even if you used soak, you might have to rinse it, so it's totally up to you. But I'm just gonna I'm not gonna rinse the sweater again. I'm gonna leave the product on. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna move it over and I'm gonna let this water out of the sink. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of that water, and now I'm just basically left with this sweater that's full of water. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fold it over quickly like this, just a few into a little ball like this. The important thing is to be gentle with it. Don't be rough with your crochet sweater, because you're gonna distort the stitches, you're gonna spoil the fabric. So what I'm gonna do is just gently, very gently squeeze the sweater to try and get as much of the excess water as possible. So very gently. And this is process that I wouldn't rush. Take your time with trying to squeeze the water out, because you don't want to spoil all these neat stitches that we have on there. One thing is, do not twist the fabric. Do not try to wring the water out. It's not advised at all. Just a gentle squeeze. I'm not even kind of fully squeezing the fabric as hard as I can, because even that is too much, kind of too much for the stitches basically. So I'm just gently gonna go around and keep squeezing it very gently, because we don't want to spoil anything. Like at the moment, if you can see, the stitches don't look as neat as they did before we wetted the sweater, but this is where the blocking comes into play, where you can block your sweater, sort of pin it to its original dimensions, which will make your stitches nice and neat again. Okay, so basically take your, like I said, take your time with this process, just squeezing the water out. I'm just gonna refold it, and I'm gonna just take my sleeve and very gently just try and squeeze the water out. There we go. Like I said, very gently. This is a very gentle process. I have the, if I move the camera, I have the sweater just on the edge of the sink there, because I don't want to go back in here where the water's going. So I'm just gonna take parts of the sweater and just very gently keep squeezing to try and get all the excess water out, like this. Like I said, the gentler you are at this stage, the more you will kind of preserve the fabric and the stitches and the overall look. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep doing this for a little bit, just trying to get as much water out of the sweater at this stage as possible, very gently. And I will meet you back where I'm gonna roll the sweater in a towel just to get even more water out of it, but I'm gonna keep doing this for a little bit. Okay, so the next stage of trying to dry your sweater is to get as much water as possible out of your sweater. For this process, we will need a clean towel that we're going to use, and we're going to roll the sweater up in a towel and press firmly onto the rolled up towel to get even more moisture out. Okay, so I'm going to spread my towel, and I'm going to lay the sweater on top. And it depends how big your towel is, but I think we can get away with spreading a sweater completely like this. So I'm spreading it on a clean dry towel very gently, and what we're going to do, this is the stage where you should try and keep it as much in shape as possible. So I just folded the sleeves over the top like this, and we're gonna start. I'm gonna start rolling the sweater in the towel. Just trying to not to cause too many wrinkles, and here we go. Just roll it in a towel like this in a big roll. And here we go. So the sweater is all rolled up inside this towel, and what I'm going to do is just start applying pressure onto this roll, again very gently, don't go beating it, to squeeze as much water as possible out of the sweater, and the towel will then absorb all the, well, most of the water out of the sweater. The other thing you can do is actually put this on the floor and just gently step on it with your feet, because the more weight you can apply to this roll, the more water you're going to get out of your sweater. So I am going to actually pop this on the floor, and I'm just going to gently, like I'm doing with my hands, like this, applying pressure, but I'm just gonna do that with my feet because I can put much more weight on it. So I will meet you back after I squeezed. Oh, you can see kind of wet spots starting to come through the towel here, which is great. That's what we need. We need to get the moisture out of the sweater into the towel because we need to dry it. So once you start getting these wet spots coming through the towel, that's basically just to say that you're doing, there we go, you're doing exactly what you need to do. So again, be gentle with it, treat it like your baby and get as much moisture out as possible. So as you can see, the towel is completely saturated with the moisture, with the water. So I'm just gonna gently unroll it. And here is our mulberry sweater. So now when I kind of pick it up, the fabric is much lighter. I think we squeezed as much water as possible out of the sweater. So now we're just gonna start the process of drying it. So as you can see, I have laid the sweater out on blocking boards. These are very handy to have when you get into crochet garments because it's always very good to block your finished pieces so they look nice and neat. But what I wanted to show you close up on this fabric is to make sure that your rows and rounds are nicely lined up. What you don't want to do is kind of dry the sweater in this style, okay? That even if it's flat, you can see how the rows and rounds kind of curve up and down, okay? So you really have to take care laying your sweater flat and just making sure that all your stitches are nicely lined up and that the rows or the rounds actually run in nice straight lines, okay? You can't just kind of throw it on there and hope for the best. Okay, so I'm not quite sure you can see them very well, but I have pinned the part where the solid stitches change to the lace stitches. I have pinned them down, pinned that row down, and what I'm actually going to do is now work on the top here and just gently tease the fabric like this, so those kind of lace stitches open up a little bit more. So I'm just going to carry on and pin the lace open a little bit around the neckline, and all there is left to do is just leave this sweater be basically and let it completely dry. You have to make sure that it is completely dry before you remove it from your boards. Or you could actually, the alternative to using a blocking board are just plain clean towel, or anywhere you can kind of lay the sweater flat on your table, lay it on a clean dry towel and let it dry flat on your kitchen table, on your bedroom floor, wherever you can actually leave it to dry. I recommend at least 24 hours, obviously depending on the weather. This might even take longer. If it's nice and warm and dry, it will dry in 24 hours. If it's a bit, rainy and cold outside, it will probably take even longer than 24 hours. As you can see in the video, I have used soak to clean my crochet sweater. However, there are other alternatives that you can use when it comes to cleaning or hand washing your crochet garments. So the other alternative is woolite. This is a detergent that is specifically designed for items that have been made from wool. Second option is soak that I have used in my video. I really love soak because you don't actually have to rinse it out. So the nice subtle scent will be on your sweater when it dries. Third option is actually baby shampoo. The shampoo that is, you know, with no added perfumes or colors or anything like that, just a pure baby shampoo that you would use on your newborn baby. This is a very good option because these shampoos are, they haven't got any harsh chemicals or harsh perfumes or any colors added to the shampoo that could actually spoil your crochet sweater. And the other option is actually homemade detergents. Items like diluted vinegar can get rid of any kind of stains or make the color of your crochet sweater kind of pop. It will clean that dirt of your sweater quite well. And the other option you've got is baking soda. You could actually made a solution of baking soda and water and submerge your sweater in this solution, because baking soda is known for getting rid of any stains or odors as well. So you can actually use items that you have already at home. So very often with wearing your crochet garments, you will most certainly have come across pills. Pills are small balls of fabric and fibers that have accumulated on your crochet sweater in the areas of high friction. So in order to preserve your sweater and to make it look as good as new, we sometimes need to remove these pills, okay? So there are tools that you can use to remove the pills. So the first one is pill shaver. This is a handheld device. It can either be a kind of electric, which you can charge or plug in, and it's got tiny teeny blades that will just gently go over your fabric and remove the pills and little bubbles of fabric or little bubbles of fibers from the top of your crochet sweater. You can also get a handheld kind of it's curved pill shaver that you can gently run over the fabric of your crochet sweater to remove the little bubbles of fibers. Or you can actually use a razor blade you have at home to gently run it over the fabric to remove any bubbles or pills. The most important thing to remember is not to do it too harsh. You don't want to kind of remove the top layer of your crochet sweater, just those really prone, really visible bubbles and pills on top of your crochet sweater. And secondly, you don't want to do this too often, because obviously removing fibers, even if they're in a kind of like a bubble pill shape, will actually weaken the finished fabric. So you don't want to do it too often, and you don't want to do it too harsh that you will actually remove lots of fibers from the crochet sweater. And obviously, sometimes, because we have lots of crochet sweaters and cardigans, sometimes you need to store your winter makes in summer, or vice versa. You need to store them away to make room for your summer or winter wardrobe. So what is the best way to store your crochet garments? Firstly, before you store your crochet garments, you need to make sure they are clean. We already have talked about spot cleaning or freezing them or hand washing or even machine washing. So you need to store your garment when it's clean. Any kind of dirt or odor or anything like that on your sweater could actually spread to all the other sweaters. So you don't want to store them soiled or if they have any kind of odor. The second important thing is, if you did clean your crochet garment, you really need to make sure that it's completely dry. In my washing video, I said to you that it takes anything from kind of 24 hours to completely dry the sweater. But if you are washing all your, say, winter makes to store them away for the summer, I honestly recommend letting them dry for 2-3 days if you can, to make sure they are really, really dry. Because if you're gonna put slightly damp sweater in a plastic bag, you know, in the attic, in a loft, or, you know, somewhere under bed storage or wherever else you want to store them, things are not gonna go very well for your sweaters. I think if you get them back out of the plastic bag for winter, I think you would be very shocked by the state of them, because they are very likely going to be moldy or smelly or not very good. Also, make sure that you fold your garments properly. Try to do it so there are no wrinkles, or, you know, something like your cuffs or your hems are not going to get caught and folded unnecessarily, then they're going to create kind of ugly folds and ugly wrinkles. So make sure they're folded neatly and properly. Don't hang your crochet sweaters or cardigans on hangers, because the weight of the finished garment will actually pull on it, it will stretch it, and it will be out of shape. Best thing you can do is fold it neatly, put it in a kind of airtight or waterproof plastic bag, and seal it tightly, so no kind of moisture or dirt will get to it. And store it in a dark place, in a kind of stable environment. You don't want to store your crochet sweater somewhere where it's going to be super hot one day and then super cold the other day, because it's very likely that you can get condensation inside the bag, and then your sweaters will become wet and moldy and not very good again. So make sure that your plastic bag is sealed as tight as possible and nothing can get to it. Apart from moisture and dirt, another thing that we have to kind of think about when storing your crochet sweaters is pests, okay? You've got moths, silverfish, you know, all kind of creepy creatures will try to get in amongst your crochet sweaters to kind of withstand the winter. So you need to make sure that they have no way of getting inside the bag. And even if they do, because sometimes they do, you can actually place lavender sachets or kind of anti-mothballs inside your bag before you store your crochet sweaters, to kind of get rid of any pest that should get inside your crochet sweaters. And one last thing to remember when storing your crochet sweater and garments is to actually rotate your storage, okay? Winter lasts quite a few months, and, you know, just plopping your sweaters in a bag and put in a bag, out of sight, out of mind. You can actually go back to those bags periodically throughout the storage period, and just check on them, you know, for any visible tears in your plastic bag, or for any visible kind of condensation or any soiling or any pest that got into the bag. It's best to just kind of check on your sweaters every now and again to make sure that they're not getting destroyed by anything unwanted. And if they, in the unfortunate situation that something got to them, then you can actually stop the process by removing them from the bag, you know, and cleaning them, drying them, and putting them in a different bag, sealing them properly again, because we know that, you know, sweaters take a long time to make, so we don't want them to get spoiled. So just check on them periodically throughout the storage time, and rotate them